This is a Women with Disabilities Victoria podcast. We acknowledge that these podcasts were recorded on the traditional lands of the First Nations people of this country. We acknowledge their elders, past, present and emerging. We acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded, and this is and always will be Aboriginal land. From the Outskirts is a series of podcasts featuring women with disabilities who live and work in regional Victoria. I'm Liz Wright, a disability activist and advocate. I'm also the Manager of Community Inclusion and Women's Empowerment at Women with Disabilities Victoria. All the interviews were recorded in each person's home or workplace, so from time to time there is unexpected background noise. Artist, musician and social justice activist Deb Haygarth has campaigned for women and workers' rights since she was a teenager. From standing in picket lines to running the Barwon Hub for Women with Disabilities Victoria, Deb is a fascinating woman.
Hi, I'm Deb Haygarth and we're meeting today in Wadawurrung country.
Deb, it is so lovely to be able to have the opportunity to have a conversation with you. I just wanted to start off with, where were you born? Where are you from?
Oh, inner city Melbourne, South Melbourne I was born, and raised until, I think until I was about 11, and then we moved to another inner city spot, Newport.
Yep.
And then back to South Melbourne again.
So whereabouts in South Melbourne? Were you living close to the water?
I was living close to we're in the Nepean Highway down that end of town, walking distance to the city. It was great. I could always walk home if I missed the last tram.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Do you have good memories of that time?
Yeah, very good memories. I loved it.
Have you got siblings?
I have 4 siblings. I have 3 brothers and a sister. An older sister and, 3 brothers.
And where do you fit in the picture?
Oh, in the middle. I'm a middle child.
Oh, me too. We've got that in common,
yes.
So I like that. What was moving to Newport like?
That was a bit different. We moved into a milk bar, so I worked in the shop a lot. That was pretty good. I put on a bit of weight, though, because I could eat all the lollies. That was a bit, terrible. But, that was good. And I went to Williamstown High School, or girls' school as it was then.
Uniform or no uniform?
Oh, uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
formal.
Yeah. Like kneel on the ground and measure up to see how long your skirt is, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Have to wear your beret and your blazer on the way home.
Yeah. What did your folks do for a job? Did they run the milk bar when you moved to Newport?
Yeah, Mum rang the milk bar, but Dad was a wharfie and he has been a wharfie for years, and so he continued doing that. And Mum rang the milk bar. So, yeah. Yeah,
so are we talking 60s, 70s here?
60s, late 60s.
So we're talking kind of the beginning of the big union kind of protests and change around the wharves and the docks and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you are. My father had a lot of time off and on pickets and all the rest of it. And, there was a lot of argument with school teachers when my sister would go to school and say something about Dad being on strike, and there'd be a repercussion from the teacher, and then Mum would be down the school having a go at the teacher.
Oh, that's really interesting. I think South Melbourne is steeped in a lot of kind of working class social justice issues around, just around work ethics and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Do you think that's where you got your kind of growth around social justice from an early age?
I have no doubt that's where I got it. Yeah, no, definitely. I had, my father was a wharfie, my uncles were wharfies, later on my brothers were wharfies, my ex is a wharfie. I just sort of have this thing, and we picketed, and we, whenever there was something on. The 96, I think it was, strike down on the docks. The MUA strike at Swanson Dock. I spent 6 weeks down there. It was amazing, and it was pretty incredible. And the camaraderie and support from each other was brilliant.
From the different unions coming in to support each other too.
Yeah. That was the best bit when the builders' labourers come in. When the CMFEU came in the morning, we'd been standing all night, and we had the helicopter above us with a spotlight down on us. It was amazing.
Such intimidation.
It was. We had all the police, like that many police in front of us, but we were all standing linked arm to arm. And then 7 in the morning, when all the builders had come to go to work, they all decided to come down to Swanson Dock instead. So there was just hundreds of them marched up behind the police. So the police just had to separate, and they come up and they said, "Okay, guys, you just go and have a rest. We'll take over."
I love that.
Oh, it was just brilliant. It really was. And I mean, I had my mother was there, my son was there, my daughter, my ex-husband was there. It was just such a...
It's like a powerful act to actually rebel against, what was seen as kind of diminishment of rights and the ability for people to be able to work in a healthy, safe way.
Yeah. But it was trying to get rid of the unions, and the biggest union of all. And it ended up becoming a people's fight, and because they had the big march in Melbourne, which I was really lucky to be asked to hold the banner in the front row, which was amazing. And I think there was something like 150,000 marching. Yeah. It was huge, and that was a lot of people in the community. It was a community march as well as the wharfies, of course, but it was huge.
On a practical level, if you're standing up all night, how do you go to the toilet?
Well, you don't.
You just hold on.
Or else someone... God. Yeah, it was really difficult. I ended up passing out at one stage. They went and got me some oranges to eat when I come to. It was
oranges?
Oranges, they thought it might have been diabetes or,
wow.
like there was something, but it was just, I had MS and I didn't realise it at the time. But I was, it was just that whole, pressure and standing and,
So if you had MS and didn't realise it at the time, so tell me about that.
Well, I had my first attack of MS when I was 23, and I had optic neuritis, which nowadays if any woman was to go in with optic neuritis, they just automatically have them checked for MS.
What's neuritis?
It's inflammation of the optic nerve.
Oh.
And so they didn't know if I had glaucoma, they weren't sure what it was, and sent me off to a specialist, and he says, no, it's optic neuritis, but he didn't know about MS because this is a long time ago. We're going back 40-something years.
Yeah.
And so she just told me, go home, it'll go away eventually. And
isn't that interesting about women's health?
Yeah.
It'll go away. Well, or lose weight.
Yeah, well, he told me that when he sees it, it's generally just with young women.
Yeah.
And that's typical because that's what MS does. So anyhow, for years after that, I would have different problems like my hands not working properly, losing balance really badly, like even trying to rinse my hair in the shower and nearly falling over.
Yeah.
All sorts of things like that, different sensations I was getting in my legs and hands, but the doctors all kept telling me there was nothing wrong with me. If I said my legs were playing up, they'd x-ray my hips and say, there's nothing wrong with you, go home. And so 20 years that went on for until I couldn't walk and I wasn't able to walk properly, and that's when I went to the doctor and he told me to go home.
So how did that manifest? Did you try to get out of bed one morning and it was just like, this is too wobbly, I can't do it?
I had my daughter living with me and she says, come on, Mum, let's go for a walks in the morning. And I said, yeah, okay. I couldn't make it to the corner without really dragging my leg and not being able to walk properly and asking her if I could hold on to it. And she kept saying, Mum, stop it. You look strange. Don't walk. And I'm saying, I can't help it.
How old was she?
Oh, probably 19.
Oh, so young enough to be embarrassed by any difference in a parent.
Exactly. So she was really quite not concerned, more embarrassed. But then I went to the doctor and said, this is getting beyond a joke. I thought I'd had a stroke. I really did. I thought I've had a mini stroke.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll x-ray your hips again because I wasn't walking properly. Kept asking me where the pain was. And I says, I've got no pain. I says, everything's just numb and heavy.
But why just your hips and not your knees or your ankles?
It's like, no, this is just doctors. So, oh, no, your hips are fine. No, I just burst into tears and says, I'm not leaving here until you promise me you'll find out what's wrong with me. And he said, come back in a week. And I went back in a week and he said, ever had problems with your eyes? I said, yeah, I had optic neuritis 20 years ago. And he says, bingo, I think you've got MS. But it took that time to get it. But in between, I often wonder what I would have been like had I been diagnosed early.
Yeah.
But would it have stopped me from doing things I did? I've done a lot of things that I really probably wouldn't have done had I known I had MS, because I would have been trying to protect myself. But, we built a mud brick house. I've poured slabs at friends' place. We've done lots of things. I mean, I come home exhausted and just fall in a heap.
Yeah.
And I was always told, you're always bloody tired. What's wrong with you? This sort of thing within the household. But I just pushed on. But had I known I had MS, I probably wouldn't have done those things. And I sort of wonder whether it's good or bad. I don't know. Mixed feelings about it.
Tell me about your mud brick house. What was that like, building that?
That was strange. That was good. No, I must say it was good. We had the kids and everything, and
So how many kids you've got?
I got three kids. Yeah. I got two girls and a boy. And they weren't all born when we moved to the country, but it was one of our things. Both my partner at the time and me were both from South Melbourne, and we wanted the kids to grow up with a horse and goats and whatever, and we knew the only way to do that would be to move to the country. And we're sort of alternate lifestyle thinking and wanted to make a difference and not leave a big footprint. And this is back in the late 70s, so it wasn't even thought of back then, But
perfect for a hippie lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. So off we went and, made all the bricks, built the house and lived in a caravan on the property for, we had 12 acres on the property for, a number of years. And while we built the house, it was hard work. It was bloody hard work. We had no power. So we used to have our lights in the caravan from the battery on our car, and we always had the car parked on a slope so that we could jumpstart the car the next day.
Yeah.
And then we eventually got to move into the house when it was lock up, and that's a big mistake because once you get in, you go, we're in, then it takes you a lot longer to finish it.
Yeah.
But it got done and it was fun, and the kids liked it. The kids had we lived in the middle of Lillica Forest up in Talbot, and they had a forest for their backyard. And
how lovely.
Yeah. And we had goats and, we've had lots of things, horses, and we had one goat was in kid one time, and they went down and said, Mum, it's having the babies. And I says, you watch, because we had some friends around. So they went down to watch the goat have the kid. And it had the kid, and they come around, it's had one, we're off good. And then they, Mum, it's having another one. And I went, well, that's pretty good, having twins for its first kidding.
Yeah.
And then it come up, Mum, it's having another one. It had three kids it had in its first kidding. So that was pretty exciting for the kids.
So at this stage, were you still having symptoms or noticing symptoms around, your hands and legs and stuff, but it was all just taking it in your stride because you're building a house, you're raising 3 kids and 3 kids as well.
Yeah. I honestly thought I was getting old when I was 30. It was like, oh, my God, I'm just so old. I feel it. Yet for the work I was doing, I shouldn't be feeling like that. And it just didn't make sense, and nothing made sense. But it was just push on.
So while you were on that property, were either of you working in mainstream jobs, or were you just working like off the grid and being sort of self-sustainable?
We were doing all sorts of things. My ex was building muddies with another guy. They had their own business doing that. And he also worked on farms, doing, just anything on the farms that he could do.
Yeah.
I did different things. I was a sign writer and painter, and I was originally a screen printer, but I sort of got out of that and went into doing signs and things. So I was doing menu boards for the local wineries in Avoca. And
so painting or chalk drawing?
Chalk, the pastels, they are pastel menu boards.
Yeah.
And that's that sort of stuff. And painting too, I must admit. I was up a roof one time writing souvenirs on the front of a shop, and my girlfriend told me I spelt it wrong, and I was just beside myself with worry. All the way back into town with my dictionary just to double check that.
Had you spelled it wrong?
No, I hadn't. I was paranoid because souvenirs, it is one of those words, and and I started to think maybe I did spell it wrong, and it was a huge sign right across the top of the shop. And
So had you always been kind of creative?
Yeah, I've
as a kid too.
Yeah, as a kid I was drawing oh God, from 9, 10 years old, the lady down the road was having art lessons, and this is when we were in the milk bar.
Yeah.
And she was telling me about him, and so Mum, she told my mother, get her some paint pencils and things. She really likes this. And so that was it. Mum went out and got me some, folios and pencils and pens and what have you, and I was into it then. And I just loved it. I drew all the time. And then when I got to secondary school, I wanted to be an art teacher, but they wouldn't promote me to year 12, even though I passed every subject in year 11.
Why not?
Well, because they were just mongrels. They wouldn't do it.
Were you at South Melbourne?
I was at Alba Park High when this happened.
Yeah.
The year before, the year 12 was the first year 12 out of Alba Park High because it was a new school.
Yeah.
And its year 12 were better than J.H. Boyd and McRobb's High, which was,
Wow.
Their pass rate was better. And I think they just wanted to keep the pass rate up really high, and they didn't think that I would do it for him. I would have. I hadn't studied at all in year 11. I just was too smart and I just didn't need to.
Yeah, there is a little streak in some people, isn't there? And I say this about my family as well, where we're like, oh, yeah, I'll just do it later. Or not at all, or I'll just fluke it. Sometimes you get caught out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I said, I passed every subject.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad. I probably could have passed it with higher marks. That's the only thing. But I have full intentions of doing the right thing when it come to year 12 because I wanted to go to university.
Yeah.
So, but then it was a different time back then. And Mum says, don't be stupid, just get a job.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she wouldn't fight for me. So I went, okay. So I went to get a job, but I said, it's got to be in art. And I ended up getting an apprenticeship in screen printing, and I was the first female qualified screen printer in Victoria, which was pretty special.
I would be super proud to be the first woman to do something.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, it was incredible going to trade school because there was no girls there. I've done lots of different things, I suppose, working. When I moved to the country, then it was back to screen printing, and then I did the sign writing and everything because when you do screen printing, you learn how to write, you learn how to letter.
Yeah.
It was maybe not so much now because it's all computer driven now. This was pre-computer, so everything was hand done, and you worked in the dark room with huge cameras and different things. So when it come to doing sign writing, it was really just a different way of doing it. You know, I had all the skill, so.
Did you get involved in kind of social justice issues? Like I know with the wharves and your family history and stuff like that. When did your feminist streak come out?
I think I've always been a feminist. I really do. Even as a child, I've always been concerned for women and concerned for all sorts of things like that. I've seen things happen. I remember coming home from school on the tram one day. I would have been 15. I know I got into trouble off my mum because I didn't get home in time. I'd been down the beach and I jumped on the tram, and as we're going down the tram, I looked out the window and there was this guy punching this woman, and she's holding a newborn baby. And I'm screaming at the tram conductor to stop the tram, and there was people on the tram and no one took any notice. So I jumped out of the tram and ran across the road. I don't know what I was going to do, but I thought even if I could get the baby off her, I could hold the baby. And by the time I got there, they jumped in a car. They both got in a car. But there was a shop. It was in the doorway of a shop, and I yelled at the people in the shop, have you rang the police? And they said no. I said, well, ring them. And I was just annoyed that no one could see what was happening with any ounce of concern.
It's probably that whole don't get involved.
Yeah.
That mindset of, something's going to happen to me if I get involved, and that's just wrong.
Well, it happened to me because the police came, and then I had to wait and speak to the police, and I got the number plate of the car and everything. And while the police are holding me up talking, my mother's got in her car to come down and find me because I'm so late coming home from the beach. So she's jumped out the car and said, what have you done? Because the police are talking to me. So the police had to calm her down and tell her, no, she's done the right thing. Don't have a go at her. But, yeah, so it's been a long time.
Yeah. You've been involved in a few different actions and protests and things in recent years. And I know I'm jumping all over the place a little bit with my questions. Do you want to talk a little bit about the stuff that you've been involved with and basically as the hub facilitator at Barwon, you've got the hub involved in some actions as well that have been public and, with other organisations?
Yeah. We've done, of course, the Me Too movement and stuff like that. We've pushed that and got people from the hub to go and march in that, which was a really good. We had a bit of a laugh. Can I just mention something that's a bit different from this? But we were going into the march and I had a woman with me who's blind and she didn't have a dog with her. And so she says, can I push you in your wheelchair? Because I had a push wheelchair. And you guide me. And I said, yeah, sure. And so I've got her pushing me in the chair, but we come up and there was a real rough part in front of us, and I knew if she pushed me onto it, I'd probably tip out. And there was some policemen sitting over on the other side of it. And I says, just stop here for a minute. And I yelled out to the police and they come, and I says, can you come here? And they come up. I says, would you mind helping us across this bit? And they looked at us like we were stupid,
Yeah.
I says, look, she's blind and I can't walk, and if she can't see where she's going, she's liable to tip me out. Well, they couldn't believe it. They're going, you're kidding? She's blind. I said, she's fine. She's holding onto my chair. Yeah. I'm telling her where to go. I've told her to stop. So they helped us across there, and then she pushed me right through the march. It was just great. But that was the Me Too march. We've done Reclaim the Night, of course. Yes, we've marched
participated in that quite a bit.
Yeah, we've done that. We've done that a couple of years, and we've marched with the women in that because that's a huge thing, and everybody in the group feels it is too. We've done a few things. We had a play that we had run in Geelong, and it was all about mental health, and it was just to get the message out there about mental health, and that was on Mental Health Week, and we were lucky enough to get the CEO of the SANE organisation to come and open that and have a talk. So and that sort of reached a lot of people in Geelong that probably wouldn't think that way, and it was a brilliant play because it really showed you all the different types of mental health there can be.
What's your biggest passion?
I care for what's happening in this world. I care for what's happening in Australia or overseas, like what's happening in Iran at the moment. It's just shocking. What they did in America with the abortion law is shocking.
Oh, shocked me.
And these are the things that are my passion, I think, and I tend to do a lot of time looking and reading and listening to things that are happening around those things. That's probably my greatest passion. I mean, I have passion for other things, like I have passion for music and for art and things like that, but my really gut-wrenching, moving passion would be for the injustices that are happening in this country and around the world.
Yeah, and my next question was going to be biggest frustration, and it's kind of like your passion and your frustration are the same thing.
Exactly.
What's your biggest bugbear for today? It could just be for today.
No, look, just my biggest bugbear all around is that I am losing independence. I can't drive anymore, and that is probably the biggest one. I need to depend on whether it be taxis or whether it be someone else to take me places, and I'm not used to that. I could drive and go wherever I want, and that's my biggest bugbear, I think. I mean, I can cope with what's happening, but I'd love to be able to get out. And you do tend to lose friends and things when you're in an electric wheelchair. You become a bit hard,
people become a bit. See, I don't think you become hard. I think people lose sight of what friendship is, and the convenience once that is compromised. Because, popping over for a coffee or meeting somewhere upstairs.
Yeah.
And then people just get lazy.
Yeah. Well, I got invited to a New Year's Eve party, which I was so excited. All these people I hadn't gone out with for such a long time. And I said, is it accessible? And they said, yeah, there's only one step at the front door and then it's accessible after that. I didn't go. I didn't even answer. I just thought, well, what's the point? Seriously, if you don't know what accessible means. And I thought, no, I won't go. But others, I've got a 60th birthday coming on, and that's going to be accessible, and that'll be fun.
Yeah. What do you think your next big adventure is going to be?
I want to go interstate. I had considered going overseas. I've never been overseas, but I haven't seen all of Australia yet, so I'd like to go to Western Australia, and I'll have to take someone with me because I won't be able to do it on myself, my own. But, I mean, that's totally me being very self-centred and wanting to do something for me, you know, and that's going to be my adventure, I think. I need to do that. I haven't done that forever.
Self-centred?
Oh, well, not self-centred. That was probably the worst thing to say, the wrong
I think
wrong
it
word.
Sounds like a lovely adventure of going to see something great. I feel like it's something you probably deserve to do and would love.
But, we'll see how I go with that. That will happen in the next 12 months, I reckon. And it's just a matter of getting the right person to come with me. But this is all in my mind at the moment. But, it will
that's
happen.
how planning starts.
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess in conclusion, apart from your activism with protesting and social justice and working with Women with Disabilities Victoria, your feminist streak has also led you to be involved in some proactive dancing with Helen Reddy.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't dancing with Helen Reddy, but
she was singing.
She was singing, and it was actually around the time that she brought out "I Am Woman." It was. She just brought it out, and I was probably 15, and I was at a ball, of what they called it in those days, evening gown and all the rest of it, and you took your own grog and what have you. So we had an esky under the table, and when she started singing "I Am Woman," I just couldn't help myself. I pulled the esky out, stood on the esky, put my fist in the air. I was the only person in the whole hall there, which she looked over at me and nodded at me because I was there, fist in hand in the air and on top of this esky, singing every word with her. And I've loved that song ever since, and I think she was a great woman for bringing it out and releasing it. It's something that needed to be heard.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Deb.
No worries.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Liz. That was really good.
To find out more about Women with Disabilities Victoria, go to wdv.org.au.